everyone, my name is Kaylee and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Okay everybody, so it is currently Friday at almost 1 in the morning and I am supposed to leave to go back home to Pittsburgh in about less than 48 hours. And in these less than 48 hours, I have to film 3 YouTube videos, this one being the first one, and then a bunch of other videos. I'm literally gonna cry. I'm going to try to get everything done within the next 8 hours. So if you're seeing this and I did get everything done, I am probably dead asleep in my bed. But without further ado, because I have a lot of stuff to get done, let's get into today's story time. I'm gonna bring you guys up close. There we go. Okay, please do not mind my nails. The reason why I always have them done is because I have really bad anxiety and I bite my nails and I've been biting them, and then there's one nail that just like literally won't come off. So just my quick usual little rundown before we get into today's story time. For most of the video, I will be looking in this direction because my mirror's over here and I would like to see what I'm doing. I do tell these story times at a first person point of view, so if you don't like that, then you can leave. And these story times are sent in by anonymous people. Okay, so story time about how my ex-boyfriend gave me an STD. Yep, you heard that right. He gave me an STD. I'm starting to question if there are like actually any good people out in the world. Like, what the fuck is this? Anyway, so a little background information. I was 16 and a sophomore in high school, and we are going to rewind back to my freshman year in high school. I started dating this guy who we are going to call Justin, and we met at a party that one of his teammates was throwing. Justin played basketball, and our basketball team was actually like ass. So anytime that they would win, it would be like this grand big deal, and they would like throw a party, you know, celebrate. If you guys win like 1 game every 5 games, it's really not a win. Anyway, so surprisingly, the first game that I went to, they actually won. And my friend Valeria and I both went to this party. And she introduced me to everybody because this was not my typical crowd, okay? I mean, to be honest, I didn't really even have a crowd in general because I was a loner, but not a loner by choice, if that makes any sense. It was mainly because I moved from Columbia to Ohio the summer before my freshman year in high school. And I literally could not speak a single fucking inch of English. So I was in ESL. If you don't know what that is, it's English as a second language, and it's pretty much like a class that you're in, and it's exactly what it sounds like. You learn English. But during the summer before my freshman year, I also studied English. And then whenever I went to school, I spent all of my time in this room with this one teacher who would pretty much teach me all of my classes. And any other kids in my school, aka only 6 kids in my school, spoke different languages, mostly Spanish. They all learned how to speak English as children, so that's why I was the only kid in that class. But slowly we transitioned into me going to regular classes, and she would come to these classes with me, and usually she would just sit in the back of the class with me and pretty much walk me through all of the work that we were doing and everything that the teacher was talking about. And finally, since I was in these regular classes, I was able to start meeting some people, and Valeria and I were in a lot of classes together, so we actually ended up hitting it off right away, which I was super happy about because I was like so tired from everything that was already going on, and I did not want to have to search for friends, so I was thankful. But yeah, that's the story of how I met Valeria and why I am not a very social person. But back to the party. Her and I are standing there watching the boys play beer pong when this guy that she really likes comes over, and she's like, hey, like, I'll be right back. I'm going to get a drink. So, you know, I'm standing there very awkwardly pretending that I have shit to do on my phone, you know, because this was the first party that I had ever been to. I knew absolutely none of these kids, so I just felt extremely awkward. I swear that has to be one of my biggest pet peeves, is whenever someone brings me somewhere and they're the only person that I know, and then they leave, they like just go and do like something else. They'll be like, hey, like, I'll be right back. Why would you do that to me? Because now, you know, my social anxiety was like low-key already here, and now it's here. That's low-key a reason why I stopped going places with my friends whenever I wouldn't know anybody else who would be there. And I know that like they were best friends with everybody else there, so I was just kind of gonna be sitting on the sidelines being like, hi, no thank you. Well, after 2 minutes of standing there by myself, this guy comes over and taps me on the shoulder, and when I look up, it's Justin, but I didn't know it was Justin at the time, and he's like, hey, do you want to be my partner for beer pong? And of course I said yes, because at that moment I realized Valeria was not coming back from getting another drink, or she at least wasn't going to be back anytime soon. So, you know, I'm playing beer pong with him and his 2 other friends, and we lost, of course, because 1, I was nervous, and 2, I had never ever played beer pong, so I wasn't really an expert. But after that, I was gonna go and find Valeria, so that way hopefully we could go home, but then he's like, hey, do you want to go outside on the porch? It's really nice out there. So we go outside on this porch, and it's like one of those porches that has like a fire pit and then screens all around it, so that way like the bugs can't get in. It was really cute. But you know, we sit on the porch, we're talking, and surprisingly we really hit it off. Like the conversation was flowing, no awkward moments, laughing, the whole conversation. Well, soon enough Valeria comes over and she's like, hey, my sister's here, we gotta go before my parents kill us. And I'm like, oh, okay, period. So, you know, I get up, grab my things, I say bye to Justin, and then she like stops me as I'm walking, and I look at her, and she looks at me, and then she looks down at Justin while he's sitting there, and then looks back at me, and then we start walking, and she's like, do you know who that is? And I'm like, that's Justin? And she's like, yeah, no fucking kidding. She was like, but you know that he's like one of the hottest guys in the school, right? Like, you're lucky as fuck. Literally, that kid is like a gift to women. Like, every girl wants to get with him, even the seniors. So now I'm like low-key weirded out and low-key like have like the ick, if that makes sense, because I'm like, well, Valeria told me that the guys in our school particularly are known for pretending to like girls and then doing the nasty with them and then leaving them. And yeah, that's all there is to it, you know, cute short story. But fast forward to Monday, class had already started, and I am on my way back from the bathroom when I see Justin standing at his locker, and it looks like he just came into school late because he had his book bag and his coat on, and I'm looking down at my feet trying not to make eye contact with him because I'm an awkward person. Yeah, I don't know. I was just hoping that he wasn't gonna see me. But then of course, as soon as I pass his locker, he starts calling my name, and I want to just keep walking and act like I don't hear him, but I don't have headphones in to do that. So I turn around and I'm like, oh, hey. And he's like, hey, like, what class are you in right now? And I could tell that he really just wanted to talk to me, because literally he's in my class first period. Like, we both have art together. I'm a little offended that he either, 1, really didn't know that I was in his class, or 2, pretended not to know that I was in his class. But I think it was option number 1. He really just wanted something to talk to me about. So he's like, oh, are you going there right now? And I'm like, yeah, I just came back from the bathroom. And he's like, oh, like, can you wait for me to put my stuff in my locker and like we'll walk there together? I'm like, okay, Justin. If the title of this story time wasn't so shitty, I maybe would have thought that Justin was a good guy. But let's continue. So we walk into class together, and he comes over and sits by me, which is really weird because all of his friends were in this class and they all had to sit up front because literally like 2 days into the school year, they all got in trouble for literally just fucking around the whole time and distracting the class. But, you know, he didn't care. He just wanted to come and sit next to me, so period. Okay, Justin. But he still came back and sat next to me anyways, even though I'm pretty sure the teacher told them that if they misbehave again in her class, she's literally gonna write them all up. So, you know, the teacher comes over and she crouches down next to him and, like, you know, she whispers in his ear and she's like, I'm gonna let you sit here today, but if she tells me that you're distracting her or any of your other classmates, you'll be kicked out of my class for good. So, you know, he was like, okay, whatever, blah, 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 blah. So, you know, we're sitting there and we're talking and he's being really, really nice. Like, if this is how the guys trick the girls in our school, I am scared for what the real world looks like with men. Because he was super dreamy, you know, acting like he cared about my life. But don't get me wrong, I was still super skeptical about him and boys in general. But after class that day, he asked me for my Snapchat and we started talking a lot more, and one thing led to another, and bam, he's my boyfriend. Now, my dad was super against me having a boyfriend, okay, but my stepmom, on the other hand, made my dad a little bit more lenient, if that makes sense. Like, my actual mom passed away whenever I was 11 years old. My dad won't tell me why or how she passed away, so I guess it must have been something really bad. But anyways, eventually, whenever I turned 13, my dad met my stepmom, who lived in the United States. He would come over here and visit her, and I would stay with my grandma over in Columbia. And then eventually, we both moved to the United States with my stepmom. So, you know, my dad agreed to let me have a boyfriend, okay, but I was never allowed over his house. He always had to be at my house. We weren't allowed to do any of that. We weren't allowed to hang out at places together unless my dad was there, or unless one of my friends were there, or unless somebody else was with us. But I was really happy because he did get along with my dad super well. But fast forward to the summertime, right? It's summer before my sophomore year in high school, and Justin and I have been dating for probably about 7 or 8 months at this point, and our relationship was super good, but then it became okay. There were just some things that he was doing that really started to annoy me, and most of this stuff started during the middle of the summer. Like, 1, he was extremely clingy. Number 2, he was controlling, and number 3, he was very manipulative. And over time, it just kept getting worse and worse and worse and worse. Like, for example, Valeria went on vacation for like a month and a half for the first half of the summer, right? And she came back like late July. And I was super excited, obviously, because I missed my best friend and I wanted to hang out with her, and yeah. Oh, also, my family and her family planned a trip to Florida together, so that way we would be able to spend a week together before we had to go to school. So, you know, I'm super excited because we have all these plans to do all these amazing things. And Justin and I literally spent every single waking moment with each other throughout the summertime. I mean, there were probably, like, if any days that we didn't see each other, it was at most 2 days a week where we didn't see each other. And on those days, it really didn't feel like we weren't seeing each other because we were on the phone every fucking single second of that day. So like I said, Valeria comes back, and I told Justin that I was gonna be hanging out with her a lot for the next few weeks, and she just got back and I haven't seen her. And I kept telling him this for the past few weeks, and you know, he seemed good with it until the time actually came around to be good with it. He was like, I don't get it, why can't we all hang out together? I don't think it's fair that we hang out every day together, and then all of a sudden you want to stop hanging out with me so that way you can go and hang out with your friend. Like, you're pretty much just blowing me off for Valeria. So then I asked him, I'm like, why would you want to hang out with 2 teenage girls? That's weird. Like, it's gonna be boring. We don't do anything fun. Like, we do girly shit. And then he's like, well, if it's something that you're doing and you like, I will force myself to do it also, or try to like it as much as you do. Oh my god. So at this point, I'm like, all right, whatever. I don't give a fuck. So of course I tell Valeria this, and she's low-key pissed off because she wanted it to just be me and her, of course. But we made a plan. We were gonna all hang out, all 3 of us, and her and I were gonna be super boring the entire time, so that way next time he did not want to come and hang out with us. So that was the plan. We were gonna go to this amusement park. We were gonna go and sit on the benches near the food court and just play on our phones the whole time, so that way he would be like super bored and never want to hang out with us again. So, you know, my stepmom, she dropped us all off at the amusement park, and for some reason Justin's sitting there, and like, you know, he's like sitting right behind my mom. Here's the window, and he has his head against the window, and he's like every 5 seconds. And I really think that it was because I was showing Valeria a lot more attention than I was showing him. Like, her and I were laughing and talking the whole car ride, you know, we were talking to my stepmom, we're all talking girl talk, because this is literally the first time that I'm seeing her before she left. So fast forward, we are all in the amusement park, and you know, we're walking around, and Valeria and I are kind of trying to talk to each other, but trying to talk to each other enough to the point where it looked like we weren't having fun, you know? So we would like say one sentence and then just like be quiet for like 10 minutes and then say another sentence to make it look like we're not having fun. But then 20 minutes later, what does Justin decide to do? Justin decides that he's gonna start literally hanging all over me. All over me. He has his arm around me the whole entire time, and it's not even the fact that he had his arm around me, okay? It was the fact that any time that we like stood up, he would come up behind me and hug me from behind and just, you know, like hold me while I'm like trying to talk to Valeria, and it's like, bruh, like please stop. Stop. So after that, Valeria was like getting pissed off because, you know, like then he was trying to talk to me the whole time and I couldn't really talk to her. So she started talking to me in Spanish, and everybody could tell that she did this to be a dick, to be honest. Like, it was not like, you know, she forgot that he couldn't speak Spanish or anything like that. No. She was doing it to be a dick. But I could give 2 bucks less, because at this point I'm starting to feel the same way as she does. So, you know, we're joking and laughing, and then Valeria goes to the bathroom and Justin and I go and sit on one of the benches, and we're sitting there and he's like huffing and puffing, kicking the rocks with his feet. Obviously I know what's wrong, and I don't want to ask him what's wrong, because then I'll have to acknowledge why he is sad. But then I'll feel like a dick if I didn't ask him. So I asked him what's wrong. And he's like, I just don't feel included. Like, why can't you guys speak English around me? All I wanted to do was have fun with you guys today, and I feel like you guys are making me feel like a burden. Like, anytime I try to make a joke or, you know, butt in a conversation with you guys just look at me and then look back at each other and keep talking. So then I actually start to feel bad. And then when Valeria gets out of the bathroom, I tell her that we need to start speaking English because I feel bad, and we need to start being a little bit nicer. So then of course she's pissed off at me. I would be pissed off at myself too, to be honest. Anyway, so Valeria slept over my house that night, thank God, because we needed our girl time. And then, you know, Justin tries calling me 3 times in a row because, you know, he wants to fall asleep on FaceTime together. So I keep telling him that Valeria is sleeping over and I want to spend time with her, and it would be very rude if I was just sitting on the phone with my boyfriend the whole time instead of talking and acknowledging her. And then he texted me saying that he doesn't even like the fact that I'm friends with her. She's not supportive of our relationship. She clearly does not accept him as my boyfriend, and he would never have anybody who disrespected me in the way that she disrespected him around me. So at this point I text him and I'm like, I don't care anymore. I really don't. So what does he do? He literally blocks me. But then, you know, I found out that he blocked me literally 5 minutes before I went to sleep, and then I fell asleep and I woke up in the morning and I'm unblocked and I have like 20 missed calls. Like, sis, make up your mind. Half of the messages and voicemails that he left me were literally him saying that he was upset and disappointed that I did not try to get in contact with him when he blocked me. I don't care about him. I don't love him. So yeah, that was that, okay? Like, I don't even remember what I said back to that ridiculous ass shit. So fast forward, it's time for Valeria and I to go on this vacation, and then Justin gets upset because Valeria and I are going to Florida together and he's not invited. So guess what he did? Instead of just being sad and, you know, accepting it like a normal person, he talked to my stepmom. Yeah, he talked to her, and somehow he talked her into letting him come with us. And I have no idea how she convinced my dad to let him come on this trip. She did, but I literally found this out the night before we were supposed to leave, because she came into my room and she said that she had a surprise. She was like, I have a surprise for you. Justin's coming on the trip with us. And I'm looking at her and I'm like, I don't want him there. Why is he coming? And she's like, oh honey, you don't have to act like that. He told us that you're really upset that he's going away to basketball camp soon and you want to spend more time with him. So he really wanted to come on this trip and, you know, make it up to you and spend time with you. So now I have to break the bad news to Valeria. I feel like such a shitty friend at this point. And then after I texted Valeria, I texted Justin and I was like, why would you tell my stepmom that I told you I wanted to come on this trip to Florida? This was supposed to be a vacation for Valeria and I because we haven't been able to spend any time together without you tagging along, or we haven't even been able to talk on the phone because you throw a temper tantrum anytime that I call her instead of you. Like, you really just couldn't let us have this one trip. And he's like, wow, like, I'm really upset the fact that you think that I would sabotage your guys' trip. No, I just really wanted to see you and I thought you would want to see me too, but I guess that you don't care about me, so fine. Well, fast forward, Valeria ends up not coming on vacation and I don't blame her. And to be honest, the vacation was literally fucking terrible because I was miserable the whole time also. And the reason why she didn't come was she was pissed off at the fact that Justin was coming. She thought that it was just gonna be me, her, and our families. And then, you know, we get home and Justin decides that he's gonna quit basketball. So that way he could, quote, spend all of his time with me. Which obviously I didn't like at all because we had literally already spent every single waking, breathing, living moment together every day. Can I just say one thing? Okay, if you are in a relationship, you cannot make that person your lifeline. Okay, don't do it. I mean, you can make them that person, but just don't do it. Like, trust me, I know firsthand experience and I've seen it happen multiple times. You will have one of the most toxic relationships ever. You'll have no friends because you cut them all off because you thought that this person was the only friend that you needed. You'll be spending so much time together, you won't have time to miss each other, which will cause arguments over the smallest and dumbest shit ever. And then, you know, if you guys spend every breathing, living moment together, what is there to talk about? Because you can't tell him, oh, work was cool today, you know, blah, 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 blah. He can't be like, oh yeah, school was, you know, this today. Just don't do it. I'm giving you that advice right now. Do not do it. And if you already did it, good luck. Because sis, took me 5 years to get out of that shit. So, you know, now I'm like trying to distance myself from him. Not in a way where I wanted to break up, but in a way where I wanted us to start being more independent in our relationship. Like, hopefully he would just be used to not being around me and maybe he would start playing basketball again. Maybe he would start hanging out with his friends again, because I was feeling smothered. Like, I literally felt like I was being squeezed into a tiny little ball and soon I was gonna explode. But that just like didn't work, because anytime that I wouldn't answer his calls or his texts, he would literally send me audio messages of him screaming and crying. Like, the one time he literally even sent me a video of him holding a gun up to his head. Just like some real fucking traumatic shit. So after that, I apologize, I comfort him, even though he should be comforting me because he's literally giving me like, he's like traumatizing me. But eventually I wouldn't care whenever he would do this shit anymore. Like, it got old to me very quickly. Like, the one time my friend Rachel was having her birthday party at this glow-in-the-dark mini golf place. And she doesn't really like new people. Like, she has her friend group and then she has people that she is friends with, if that makes sense. Anyway, she only likes people that she knows and she really doesn't like meeting new people. So that, it is what it is. Those were the only people that could come to this birthday party. And she invited me and I told Justin that I was gonna go to this birthday party. And he was like, oh, okay, like, why can't I go? Really? And I told him she doesn't like new people. And he was like, can you please just ask her, like, she should be okay with it since we're dating. Low-key, I really thought that she would be okay with it because she didn't know that we were in a relationship, but she was Valeria's friend before she was mine, so Valeria probably told her about all the fucked up shit that he does, so yeah. Anyway, so he's like, I always feel left out. You're my only friend now. I don't have any other friends, so of course I'm gonna want to hang out with you 24/7. So, you know, I text Rachel. I'm like, hey Rach, can Justin come to your birthday party? And she texts me back. She kindly declines. She's like, hey, like, I'm sorry, I don't really feel comfortable with that, so could it just be you? So I send him a screenshot of the text messages so that way he also doesn't think that I'm lying to him. And he goes, that's really sus. I think something else is going on. Like, who all's gonna be there? Are there gonna be a bunch of guys there? Do you really just want to hang out with a bunch of guys? Like, this is just showing how insecure he is. And I told him that it's gonna be girls and guys there, not just guys, girls and guys. And then he sent me a picture of him in his car driving, saying, I'm gonna end it all right now. So then I call Rachel and I tell her I can't go. And then after that, I told my stepmom about the situation, and she told me that I should break up with him because it was a really unhealthy relationship slash situation, which obviously I already knew that, but I low-key wanted a second opinion. So I text him and I'm like, hey, I think our relationship is super unhealthy. I think you depend on me too much. It makes me feel uncomfortable whenever you talk about hurting yourself, whenever I don't do what you want or you don't get your way. I'm tired of not being able to hang out with my friends unless you're there because you accuse me of doing shit whenever you're not there, even though I've never given you a reason to ever think that I would cheat on you. Also, you get super jealous super easily, like not everything is about you. I kind of went in on him and low-key tore him a new ass hole because I had held all of that in for so long, and I never, you know, said anything because I never wanted him to feel bad. But yeah, at the end of that message, I put in there that I was blocking him so that way he would not try to manipulate me into staying with him, which he did not like that one bit, because then he started calling my stepmom and my dad, which sure, my dad liked Justin, but he didn't like him enough to force me to have a relationship with him, because my dad still didn't want me having a fucking relationship in the first place. Fast forward a month, I'm talking to him, we're dating again, the cycle repeats itself, and we only started dating for about 2 months at that point. So yeah, 2 months in, I tell him that I can't do this anymore, and I left it at that. Well, fast forward to spring break. Valeria, Paige, and I decide that we are all going to go to Ocean City for spring break. And while we were down there, we met these seniors who go to our school. And you know, we start hanging out with them. And then the one night we ended up going back to their hotel, and Valeria ended up sleeping with one of the guys, and so did I. And Paige ended up sleeping with 2 guys. So period, YOLO sis. And then we actually ended up spending the whole rest of that week with the seniors. And whenever we got home, the one guy that I had been hooking up with down there, Bob, him and I had like a little situationship going on. We would hook up every now and then, but then also we would like hang out, go do fun things together. Whatever we were, I was satisfied with whatever we were, you know? Well, Justin ended up hearing through the grapevine what happened in Ocean City, and to say that he was upset about this would be an understatement. So all of a sudden I get bombarded with a bunch of text messages and voicemails and messages on all different social media apps from Justin, talking about how I cheated on him and I'm a slut and I'll hook up with anybody, which we literally had been broken up for a week. No communication or anything, bud. What are you talking about? You're fucking delusional. And I told him that, and he was like, yeah, but you never said we are broken up. You said you're done. That could mean a whole bunch of things. He was like, why do you think I didn't talk to you for a week? It's because I was giving you your space and your time. And throughout Justin and I's relationship, he literally made me his lifeline, like I said earlier. So he really didn't have any friends. He didn't have any hobbies. He didn't have anything. Like, the only thing that he had realistically was people clowning him because he was so obsessed with me, which is sad. But anyways, after that, he was being bitter and spreading rumors about Bob and I, saying that I cheated on him and how I probably have an STD, even though everybody knew that I didn't have an STD or cheat on him. And Bob definitely did not like these rumors that Justin was spreading around, so he took matters into his own hands. And the one night after the school's football game, Justin was waiting at his car for his friends, and Bob saw him. So he went over to him and he pretty much like grabbed him by the shirt like this. And he was like, listen, dude, I don't care if you spread rumors about me, but if you keep spreading rumors about her, I will kick your ass. So that ended up being enough for Justin to stop spreading the rumors. So that was period. but he would still try to call and text me off of different numbers. Like, I'm pretty sure that in total I blocked like 10 different phone numbers. But a month after this, Justin had gotten all of his friends back and he started playing basketball again. I was actually really happy for him that he was doing good, you know, because I didn't want to be the reason why his life was like trash. And eventually Bob and I stopped talking. He was a senior, he was going to be going off to college, you know, and we really liked each other, but it wasn't worth the hassle of having a long distance relationship. Also, because I don't know any guy that wants to be held down in a relationship while he goes off to college in another state. So Valeria and I are starting to go to a lot more parties than we did before, because Valeria and I, since we're friends with Bob and his friends, we would go to the parties that were being thrown by the seniors, and there were very select few underclassmen that would go to these parties, but Valeria, Paige, and I made sure to become friends with all of the senior girls, because if you were friends with them, then you pretty much had nothing to worry about, as long as you, one, weren't getting with any guys that they liked or taking the attention away from them. You were good. So, you know, I hadn't heard anything from Justin in a while, and I'm hanging out at this party and I run into Justin's best friend, who is very, 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 very good looking. And I felt like I didn't really owe Justin any loyalty because we've been broken up. So, you know, eventually one thing leads to another and we end up back at Justin's best friend's house and we did the nasty, which I completely regret now, because the next day, Bob and I, literally the next fucking day, Bob came to my house to talk to me and he was like, hey, like, I was wrong for what I said. I really like you and I really want to see where things will go with us. He's like, I don't care if I have to be in a relationship during college. He was like, that doesn't matter to me. So do you guys remember how I told you that we were like low-key in a situationship last time that him and I were fucking with each other? This time he actually asked me out, so I was super happy and I was super excited, because like I 100,000,000% acted as nonchalant as I could when we had the first conversation about him going to college and him being single there and, you know, doing what he wanted to do. But low-key, I was heartbroken. No, but obviously Bobby and I, you know, are participating in sexual activities. And I want to say a day or two after we did the nasty, right after we first got together, he was telling me that he thought he had crabs. It's pubic lice. I never heard of it before. I don't ever want to hear of it again. But he pretty much said this because he was super itchy down there, right? So we looked up what to do and we found this one website that said, shave your pubic hair and then wash it with shampoo. Well, that'll get rid of them. No, it won't. That wasn't true. So you literally did all of that shit for nothing. And it said that it would take a week for it to work and for the crabs to go away. But because we only checked one website, you know, we didn't check any other ones, we definitely thought that this remedy was gonna work. And it was the only way that you really didn't have to go and like buy specific shit for it. It was like home remedy stuff. But in the next week, I was having a burning and itching sensation down there also, and I was extremely worried because Bobby said that his wasn't feeling better at all. And Justin's best friend and I were super drunk that night, and I don't remember if we used a condom or not. So I decided that I would ask Valeria if her and her sister could come and get me and take me to go and get tested. So, you know, they pick me up and we go to Planned Parenthood, and a few days later I get a positive test result for an STD that is not curable, but they have medication for. So now I'm panicking and I want to blame it on Bobby, but I have a gut feeling that it wasn't him who gave it to me. And I'm literally like freaking out about telling him that I have this STD. So, you know, I take my time before I tell him. And also I try to figure out how to fucking tell him. But in the end, I should have just told him because, of course, he's in one of his classes with one of his best friends who just so happened to be at the party that night, and he's telling him about all the symptoms that he's having. And he's like, well, you know your girl slept with Justin's best friend, right? And Bobby was like, okay, what does that have to do with anything? Like, that was while we weren't together. And then his best friend is like, No, I'm talking about the kid that she slept with has literally had an STD since 8th grade. So Bob told me to meet him at his car after school, and I meet him at his car and we get in and he's like, so why didn't you tell me that you had an STD? And I was to look like I had just seen a fucking ghost, because I really did not expect him to find out literally a day after I did, whenever he didn't even suspect that he had an STD. So, you know, he's like, please don't play stupid. I know you slept with Justin's best friend at the party that one night. And I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. First of all, we weren't even together. And then he's like, it's not about that, you fucking asshole. He was like, it's about the fact that that kid's literally had an STD since he was in 8th grade. So, not really a surprise, but kind of a surprise. He breaks up with me. And I was low-key surprised because, like, if we both already have the disease, why wouldn't we just stay together? Make it make sense. Anyway, so the whole school pretty much finds out, right? And after that, I find out that Justin paid his best friend to sleep with me that night. Literally because he still thinks that I cheated on him. Yeah. And I have not been with anybody since I've been diagnosed, which was like 3 years ago, because I am absolutely terrified to tell anyone that I have an STD, let alone somebody that I really have feelings for, because I'm afraid of how that conversation might go and the rejection and just like the disgust on somebody's face whenever I tell them that I have an STD. And not to mention, all throughout high school, after that, nobody wanted to be near me. People were calling me mean names, and yeah, it sucked really bad. And I couldn't wait to go to college and get away from all that shit so nobody knew me as the girl who had an STD. But I guess you could say that Justin got karma, because Justin moved to a different school to play basketball because he actually ended up being really good. Too good for our school, to be honest. And he got offered a D1 scholarship, but the one night he was taking the trash out and there was a drunk driver in his neighborhood going a decent enough speed to hit him and break both of his legs but not kill him. Well, it was either they broke both of his legs or he got paralyzed. It was one of the two, but that's besides the point. He didn't go to college for D1 basketball, so So all I can really say is karma's a bitch. Okay, everybody, that is the end of today's story time. If you guys like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more of me, maybe hit that subscribe button down below. And if you want to send in your anonymous story time, or you want to know how to send in your anonymous story time, make sure to click the link down below in the description. I post every Saturday, and I will see you guys next Saturday with a new video.